Usually when I'm asked to give Brahmacari class, I say that whatever I wanted to say on this subject, I already put in that book. Nothing new to say. Of course, we can say the old things again. It's always fresh. Some observation I've been thinking about recently. Some observation that there are various reasons for being a brahmachari. One thing, it's, what is that? Prakashananda Saraswati said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kiba offers, why are you sitting in a dirty place? So sitting next to the jharu, or sitting right on top of it, it's not such a very good idea. Better take that out. It's not good to have darshan of it either. It's inauspicious. You should know all these things. That should be seen only when it's being used. And be the sweeper of the Nam hut. Then you can use. That's a good point. So there are various reasons for remaining brahmachari. By brahmachari here I mean in the general understanding of the word, which means, well, actually the general understanding is that of a student, but the general understanding in ISKCON of a brahmachari is, and when we say student, we don't mean the modern college student. The word student has undergone transformation. Even in the West, even in English, the universities were first of all established for imparting religious education. And now they are the bastions of irreligion. So student originally meant the brahmachari, shishya, vidyarthi. Vidya here means paravidya, particularly paravidya, knowledge of the self. Kim tad brahma kim adhyatma, etc. So the meaning within ISKCON of brahmachari means, generally taken to mean, one who is living in the ashram with the idea of not marrying, of remaining in this ashram throughout his life. That's actually not the traditional meaning. Traditional meaning is one who's a student, and generally the student goes home, samavartam, and gets married. But in ISKCON, it's generally taken to mean that those who will remain unmarried. So that's a good idea. It may be an idea for some only. How to turn that idea into reality, or to maintain that idea. That's like the big question that brahmacharis are. Actually, if you're always asking this question, I would recommend don't ask it. Just go home and get married. If you're always asking how we can stay brahmachari, then don't bother. You're not going to remain brahmachari anyway. If you have to keep on asking this question, if it's such a struggle, it should be pleasure. Brahmachari iti brahmachari. And one should be experiencing Brahma Sukh. If one is not experiencing Brahma Sukh, then only he will ask how we can remain brahmachari. Then it means he's thinking how to experience the Maya Sukh. There are two things, Brahma Sukh and Maya Sukh. So if you're not experiencing Brahma Sukh and you go on asking how I can stay brahmachari, then you're not. Then you're not properly situated. Then you have to find out that everything in the Srimad Bhagavatam about married life is true. You have to find out by personal experience if you can't catch that Brahma Sukh of brahmachari life. So it's a good idea. Yes, it's a good idea. If we understand that the purpose of life is to live forever. What is the purpose of life? The purpose of life, that's the meaning of life. If there's death, then there's no life. There's no meaning to life if there's death. Then it's not really life. It's just waiting to die. So Brahmacari life means tapo divyam, undertaking divine austerities by which Brahma sokyam tvanantam, one can experience the Brahma Sukh, which is unending, means no death. How to conquer over death. Brahmacari lives forever, means he's preparing to live forever. Yadgatvana nivartante tadhama paramam mama. So if one takes to Krishna consciousness and is young man, unmarried, then the obvious thought will come, then why marry at all? This is reality. So we should do whatever is required to be fixed in that reality. Come to that state of being fixed, brahmacharity, being fixed in the spiritual situation. So there's no need to get married, rather it is a major impediment. If one has the choice between serving Guru and Krishna 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, sleeping, bathroom, all this is only to facilitate our service. And the choice between that and becoming entangled in family life, in which, especially in the modern age, one has to work so hard to maintain a family that direct Krishna conscious activities are for most householders something they squeeze in between their activities, which are centered on earning money. And along with earning money, there's also social obligations, family obligations. The main family obligation is to earn money. That is clear. That we see that people, they often go away from their family to earn money. So the main thing that the family wants from you is the money. So obviously one should, if one has the opportunity, one should remain brahmachari. It's a good idea. It may not be recommended for everyone. If someone is not fit to be a brahmachari, if they are attracted to Krishna consciousness, but they have many material desires by which they're not able to remain content in brahmachari life, then they have to go to the grihastha. And that's why I say, if you're always asking, how can we remain brahmachari, then you're not fit. Then you have to go to family life. No one is condemned for that. There are previous sanskars. Sanskar is like a scar. It's like it's like a fixed impression. It's difficult to remove. Difficult. Can be overcome. But generally the influence of that is so strong that unless one is very strong in Krishna consciousness to overcome that sanskar of strong material desires, may be very difficult. So therefore it may be recommended that for you in this stage, better you enter family life. And that will be for you a safer position, more realistic position. Better to be an householder, honest in the sense that you are dealing with your material desires, rather than a so-called brahmacari. Now, it's not that every brahmachari is completely pure. You may be brahmachari, but material desires are also coming. But if one is not, one shouldn't think that because I have material desires in my heart, therefore I must marry. But if one can go on with Krishna consciousness without being overly disturbed by these desires, then he's fit to remain brahmachari. These are generalizations. Now, one thing I'm seeing, I was saying I had an observation, this is the observation, that sometimes quite often in the modern age we see let me backtrack a bit first, that there are different reasons given for not entering family life. You'll find in Prabhupada's books and in his spoken preaching, various reasons are given. One is that family life is so troublesome, so difficult. You work hard, have so much you have to work, and especially that often means mixing with materialistic people, and then even then you may dream of a beautiful, submissive wife, but as it happens, most people are not beautiful. The number of beautiful people is not so many. And then submissive wife in the modern age is more and more becoming a dream. They're trained differently. More and more we will find in India, and especially in the metros and very modern cities like Pune, that the Kanya Dan, she's no longer a Kanya. You can't find a Kanya. They're already used. Second hand or third hand or fourth hand. Second hand brides. And anyway, it's not Kanya Dan, it's just Larki ko kich karo, like this. It's not someone's giving, you're just grabbing them like this. It's cat and dog life, as Srila Prabhupada said. So, also that Indian culture, or not only Indian culture, but basic human culture that was there in India, that's broken down to a large extent. So the sanskars of modern girls they're not trained up in the old way that they used to be. So you can expect that family life in the modern age especially tends to be very troublesome, because both man and woman have very high expectations of sense enjoyment, which that's the very nature of material expectations, that they're not fulfilled and therefore you become frustrated. You'll find it seems almost everyone has in their astrological chart nowadays that if they enter family life it'll be very troublesome. But it's not just the chart, it's just the whole modern age. In the modern age especially, family life is very troublesome. If you want to know, ask the Grihastas. They'll tell you. It's very troublesome. Even if there is harmony between husband and wife, which is not so common, even among devotees, still there's so much trouble to maintain. So it's very troublesome. That's one reason to consider very carefully before entering family life, that why should you enter if it's going to be so troublesome? Now, what I'm seeing, and now to come to my observation, Well, there are other reasons. I mean, there are more positive reasons, such as the desire to preach Krishna consciousness, to spread to others, the desire to dedicate one's life to Guru and Krishna, to studying Shastra, preaching Shastra. But what I'm seeing now is that there's a class of brahmachari who, if someone came to them with $10 million and said, here's a nice kanya and you can marry, they'd go for it. But as that doesn't happen to them, and they can see that if I get married, I'll just have to be so much suffering and struggle and how to maintain, that their main reason for wanting to stay a brahmachari is that they can just see it'll be so troublesome to be married, so difficult. They have the desire they have the romantic desire, but at the same time they're seeing that it's just not worth it. So they're not really very committed to the positive side of brahmacharya life. But they're just saying, it's just too much trouble, better stay a brahmachari. So that's not a very positive platform, but it's an observation that I've made and I'm seeing. And they know that immediately I have to think, where is the money coming from? That's the first thing. Where is the income? And then there are so many, it's unending financial demands. So they prefer to avoid. And then another reason is that they're thinking that it's very difficult to, not only financially is it difficult to maintain, but spiritually it's also very difficult to maintain, because the kind of facility we have in brahmacharya life, materially it may not be a very good facility. Just like here in Pune, materially it's not a very good facility for brahmacharis. But I'll tell you one thing, when you get a materially good facility, then usually the standard of brahmacharya life goes down. As long as there's not good facility, then you'll find very serious people are coming, and it's very difficult to be in Maya, because where can you go? There's always other brahmacharis around you. There's no privacy. And even if you want to sleep for 15 hours a day, it's very difficult to find any place where you can go and do that. So actually, generally we find as long as there's no good facility, generally the temples are very vibrant. And when they get good facility, they tend to go, the spiritual standard tends to go down. It doesn't have to be like that, but it often is. That famous conversation, Prabhupada, he was told by his Gurudev, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, as long as we were living in the rented property in Ultadinga Road, we were happy. Now we have this big palace, Bagbazar temple, and they're fighting. Who shall occupy this room? Who shall occupy that room? So better to take out the marble, sell it, and print books. If you ever get money, print books, he told. So, spiritually, it's it's much more difficult, especially if you're used to that atmosphere of every day rising early, being in association with devotees, and then if you have to go and all of a sudden you're in some apartment and there's no one to wake you up, and if you want to do Mangalarti, you don't just shower and go, you have to make some effort. First thing is you have to get up in time. And then there's not much time for sadhana because you have to go to work, and you're working with people who are horrible, actually. After being with devotees, you have to mix with people who are horrible. They're not devotees. They're talking all nonsense, and they don't even like you to talk about Krishna. They don't encourage you to talk about Krishna. They completely admire and they expect you to be also. They don't like your Krishna consciousness. So it's a completely different atmosphere, completely opposite atmosphere. Just as Brahmacari life is favorable to Krishna consciousness, so householder life in the modern age is unfavorable. It doesn't have to be. Prabhupada wanted to make rural communities so that all ashrams, and especially householders, could live in a devotional atmosphere. But we don't have that. That is the reality at the present time. It's not a reality that we should succumb to. We should see what are all of Prabhupada's desires, and instead of making our Krishna consciousness movement part of the fitting into the demoniac society, it is our responsibility as followers of Srila Prabhupada to make the alternative society, Krishna conscious society. That's another discussion. This topic under discussion at the present time is what a difference there is between one who's lived as a brahmachari and one who has to go for family life, especially if one has had the ambition to remain unmarried but then finds that, well, I'm not actually fit for that. I need to marry, or some will tell, you're not fit for that. And then they go to that, it's very different and difficult atmosphere. So, some devotees, they may prefer to remain brahmachari because materially it's very difficult to maintain as a householder, and spiritually it's very difficult to maintain also. What a difference between being in the brahmachari ashram and working in some job. Even if your wife is a devotee, you come home and the atmosphere may be somewhat devotional, but there's a lot of difference. And home atmosphere you can't tell either. There are different levels of devotees, and some, even the wife may be a devotee, and then her idea may change, or your idea may change due to bad association. Then you may want to get a TV in the home, and then everything's finished. Spiritual life. Practically. I mean, we do have people who are initiated and who come to the temple on Sundays, and they also watch TV during the week, but I can't understand it at all. It's like we've got a double track intelligence here. It's like enjoy, then go to the temple, and then you can't be Krishna conscious. It's definitely not anyabhilashita shunyam uttama bhakti. It's not. It's just a kind of cheating process. So there's this kind of brahmachari. They're Trishanku. They're neither in heaven nor they didn't really get up, but at the same time they don't want to fall all the way down. And they think they're thinking I'm qualified to be up, although they're not really, and somehow they're being suspended in midair. But they're not really up there, but they're not coming down either. So there's one level. They're just holding on. Or one's in the Brahmacari ashram and living steadily and make a little space for yourself, 6 foot by 2 inward. This is my comfort zone. This is my zone. Someone has a GPC zone. Someone has a 6 foot by 2 zone. Foot, you don't use feet here. And then 2 meters by 0.7, something like that. Enough space to lie down and keep your possessions. This is my GPC zone. But better be on the positive platform. You can maybe maintain like that, but then what happens is that often it happens one will be in Brahmacari life, but not really exemplary, because the motive is not positive. It's more like the Mayavadi's Vairagya, that they're renounced because they want to. The main motive is avoidance of suffering. The main motive is not how to serve Krishna. The motive may be there to serve Krishna, but the main motive is how I can avoid suffering. So that's Falgu Vairagya. That's not very positive or strong renunciation. And it's liable to be broken at any time. So real positive renunciation comes from attachment to Krishna. To maintain that, one has to have a very deep internal commitment. One may do so for some years. But if one doesn't have a very strong commitment to pure devotion, to serving in pure devotional service, to striving to attain the level of pure devotional service, then after some time you start to think this is too troublesome. And I have to make my own space. 6 foot by 2 and that's also violated. That's not enough. I need my independence. I can't live like this forever. And then one is impelled by sanskar. Unless one comes to a higher level by practice of Krishna consciousness, then in due course of time the old sanskars will come. They'll become prominent. And by the power of Maya, one overlooks how troublesome material life is, or householder life is. That on that basis, for so many years, one may have maintained Brahmacari life, that it's too troublesome being a householder. But then due to the power of Maya, it starts to look very nice. They call marriage kalyanam. They're thinking it's something kalyan, something auspicious. It is auspicious if Krishna Sangsara, if one enters Krishna's family life. But generally that's kalyana. This word is used for marriage. That's on the material platform. If one is thinking in terms of dharma, artha and kama, then to accept a dharma patni is the key to artha and kama. So this is considered dharmic to accept a wife, because by doing so one can fulfill his debts to his forefathers. Everyone should get married. That is a rule, and in Karma Kanda, that is a rule. Everyone should get married so he can perform the auspicious duties of producing sons, or at least one son, Dharma Putra. After that, after one Dharma Putra, others are Kama Putras. The first, there's Manusas. First is, you only need one son to execute Dharma, so more they may be produced out of desire. So, that's considered kalyana, auspicious. That can be auspicious if one enters samsara, Krishna samsara, Krishna-centered family life. But practically speaking, it's more difficult to do so, unless one has a very strongly devotional attitude in family life. But the tendency is to mix material desires with spiritual desires. Actually, they don't mix. It's a bad mix. Brahmacari life is very pure life, if one is actually following. Better to be an honest householder than a charlatan sadhu. So I said more or less what I had to say about Brahmacari life is in that book. And what I've said today is also not outside the scope of that book, but it's some observations expanded from what is already written there. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah. Please. Is that the right time? Yeah. Please.
Maharaj, one of the aspects of Brahmachari life in ISKCON is preaching. So we have heard that Krishna consciousness, by giving we also get Krishna consciousness. By sharing it increases. But often we see that if we keep giving, somehow we seem to lose strength and we also need to recuperate.
No, preaching doesn't mean that one only preaches. There has to be the very basis of prachar is achar, acharan. Apane achare prabhu jibere shikai. One has to replenish oneself by hearing and chanting also. Unless one is regularly hearing and chanting, his preaching also won't. Neither there'll be potency, nor will there be any example to follow. What are we preaching? We're preaching that you should engage in Shravan Kirtan. And if we ourselves don't do, then it'll be, how can we inspire people if we don't do ourselves? So, preaching is required and practice is also required. Then we won't feel, we can feel worn down. Even physically, if we're traveling a lot or have lots of late nights, it can be. If we're preaching late at night and then the next morning again we're up early, and due to our being affected by the physical condition, we often find that we can't concentrate so nicely on hearing and chanting if we're very tired. So all these points have to be brought into consideration. Then, anything else?
It is said, Maharaj, like Brahmachari should be like bold in preaching. So sometimes devotees
Brahmachari should be bold in preaching. Preaching means that we have to speak that which is generally not desired by the people we're speaking to. So that requires boldness. It's not only, if anyone's going to preach, then boldness is required. This is not only for brahmacharis. Bold, what does it mean, bold? Bold means that you may be saying something which may not be very pleasing to others, so you're inviting the displeasure of others. That is considered bold by those who are concerned about what others think of us. But if we're only considering how to serve Guru and Krishna, then it's not really bold. We can say we're bold if there's a consideration of personal sense gratification, what others are thinking of me. But for a devotee to speak the truth is not a matter of boldness, it's just his service, it's natural for him. And what others think is not his concern. How they accept it, of course, we have to see. There may be sugar-coated pills, but intrinsically, we don't care whether the public like it or not. We're not prostitutes for the public that we have to dance according to their tune.
Hare Krishna. It is said that
It is said by who?
By Prabhupada.
Yeah. Why don't you say that then? Why don't you say then? Prabhupada said, not it is said. You converted Prabhupada into it. That's called impersonalism.
Prabhupada mentioned that there is a three purpose for preaching. First is why we preach. We preach because we want to get purification.
Yeah, there are three, and there may be more also. If at one place Prabhupada says 3, that doesn't mean it's limited to that.
And one of that mentioned is compassion. So if it is not there, then what to do?
Chant Hare Krishna. If there's no compassion, then we're not Krishna conscious. Therefore we have to hear and chant and become purified. Preaching is a matter of duty in the beginning stages. As one becomes more developed, then compassion will arise. There's some other question.
Maharaj, what is the right age to become a brahmachari?
Well, traditionally, the brahmachari age it'll be different in different traditions. 5, 7, like this. 8 even, as late as... I mean, to go to the Gurukul, like that. Otherwise, nowadays, of course, our definition of brahmachari is something different. I mean, someone who's not been a brahmachari and they take up that at the age of 18 or 20 or 25. So what we call brahmachari nowadays, it's different from the traditional model. Also brahmachari, but not according to the traditional understanding. Brahmachari can also be understood. Brahma means the Vedas, so who is studying the Vedas? Studying at Gurukul. So that generally from a young age. Then
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, you said
if one is not very strong in his official in his Krishna consciousness, he has material desire in his heart, then he becomes like a Trishanku. He's like a neither
may
up.
do if he doesn't go to family life. Yeah.
So that is possible in both the ashrams, like as you only mentioned that even in Grihastha ashram, one is not very fixed
No,
up.
in Grihastha ashram, one is coming to terms with the material desires. One is admitting them and living them out in a regulated manner. So that's different to a brahmachari who's supposed to be very seriously working on overcoming his material desires. Whereas in Grihastha ashram, it's a different proposition. In brahmachari life, of course there's the brahmachari who plans to go back home and get married, but even then, as long as he's a brahmachari, he's not cultivating material desires. He's living brahmachari gurukule vasandanto gurur hitan. Acharan dasavan nicho guru sudhira sodrada. He's living like a slave, dasavan, like a slave in the gurukul, living acharan dasavan nicha means living actually like a slave. Of course, the guru is very affectionate, but he's living a life of austerity. And when we say go to Grihastha ashram, they're indulging in material desires, but traditionally that would mean in a very regulated way, not like in the modern age where it's very loose, but regulated. When we say Grihastha ashram, that was very regulated. So in the Grihastha ashram there's lots of tapasya, there's lots of sadhana, there's vridha seva, atiti seva. It's dharma means, even in the karma kanda, dharma means that a life of not living simply for oneself, that we were hearing this morning. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That consciousness is especially cultivated by sannyasis, but actually that the whole Vedic mission, sarve sukhino bhavantu, not just me. So brahmachari life is meant specifically for vairagya. So if one is thinking that actually I'd like to enjoy material life, but it's so troublesome, so I would be more materially happy and well off by going through the motions of being a brahmachari, and then at least I don't have much material facility, but I probably wouldn't have much more as a grihastha anyway, and it's so troublesome to maintain it, therefore I'm more comfortable materially as a brahmachari, therefore I'll be a brahmachari. That's not real brahmachari life. Whereas a grihastha is admitting, yes, I have these desires, and I'm going to indulge in them in a limited extent, in a manner that can be dovetailed in Krishna consciousness. So there's a difference.
Maharaj, this shloka Brahmachari Gurukule, the word Sruhudam comes, that the friendship with the spiritual master. On the other side we hear that
No,
fire...
that's Sohridam. Sudhirdam means the very strong. The two words come in the same line. Guru Sudhrida Sohridam.
Sohridam.
The Sohridam, that is the friendship. Suhrit.
On the other side we hear fire, deity and spiritual master, we need to keep a distance. So what is the practical meaning of this word?
Suhrit, what is the meaning? That we have to keep a distance from the Guru, not be very close, and at the same time Suhrit means heart to heart. How are these two things reconciled? Guru Mukha Padmavaka Chitete Korya Aikya. Heart to heart with the instruction. And also, this instruction Krishna is giving, he's speaking to Uddhav. Here he's speaking about the traditional brahmachari who goes to live in the forest with the Guru, so actually it'd be a very intimate kind of setting. So it's just like with your father. Of course that may be changed in the modern age, but usually, if one has a father, growing up in the West, they often don't have a father. The father is long gone. So there's definitely affection is there, but at the same time, it's a different kind of affection that you have with your friends and your brothers. There's distances there also. Then that's more like the guru to disciple relationship is more like father to son. It's very similar in many ways. We say how you should serve Guru, but traditionally the son served the father. They'd bring him water, fan him, massage him, all these things. Not in modern life. But that's how it used to be.
Maharaj, what is the role or importance of cultivating philosophical discrimination on the path of bhakti?
What is the importance of cultivating philosophical discrimination on the path of bhakti? Well, you can tell. You know so many shlokas. You can tell.
I just wanted to complete the question. Because on the other hand, we say that the difference between the renunciation of the Mayavadis and the Bhaktas is that we depend on Krishna. So we also cultivate knowledge. At the same time, we are expected to depend on Krishna. So how do we...
What's the cultivating knowledge and the example of the Mayavadis?
The Mayavadis, they just try to cultivate knowledge like Sarvabhauma
but their knowledge is not knowledge of Krishna. Devotees' knowledge is knowledge of Krishna. This devotees' knowledge and the Mayavadis' knowledge is quite different. That's erroneously, sometimes devotees who are interested in studying Bhakti Shastra, Bhagavad Tattva Vigyan, they are criticized as being jnanis. But that kind of jnana is wanted. Devotees should be a jnani. You should have Bhagavad Tattva Vigyan. But this kind of shushka jnana, dry knowledge, by which one doesn't cultivate knowledge of Krishna, that is antithetical to bhakti. But knowledge of one's relationship with Krishna, sambandha gyan, that is the very basis of Krishna consciousness. So there are so many, that's why I say, you can tell, there are so many verses. Tatshradhana muniyo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashanti atmani chatmanam bhaktya shruta grihitaya siddhanta balaya chittena karaha alash Iha hoite Krishna lage sudira manush. That's one side. That by cultivating knowledge of Siddhanta, Siddhanta is not just knowledge, it's understanding, appreciation. It's not just a matter of learning. By cultivating knowledge of Siddhanta, one's mind becomes strongly attached to Krishna. And as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, taking the same understanding in another way, he said, Siddhanta alasjan anartha tacharena. Those who are lazy in the matter of understanding Siddhanta, they cannot give up anarthas. So that's important, isn't it? If you don't understand the Siddhanta, then that in itself is the first anartha. To not understand Siddhanta, from which all other anarthas spring.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, you told that we should experience Brahma Sukh in Brahmacari life. But at present stage, like we don't have, I don't have any. Intellectually, I am convinced, okay, to quite a lot degree that there is misery in the material world or grahastha life, both materially and spiritually. Like it is not good. It's better to have be in Brahmacari life. But at the same time, the higher taste or that is not developed in Krishna consciousness.
It must be somewhat developed at least, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here now. If it was just theoretical knowledge, then you could maybe write a PhD or something about it. But it would all be licking the honey bottle from the outside. Some taste must be there. You can't say there's nothing. You can say, but we won't believe you. Some taste must be there.
But how to work on to develop that, build that?
How to? One of those how-to questions. The answer to all these how-to questions is go on with the process of Krishna consciousness. Iha hoite sarva siddhi hoibe shobha. There's no other process. There's one seminar by Satyananda Maharaj called The Art of Transformation. I don't know what it is, but I just presume it's the repackaged process of sadhana that Prabhupada, following Rupa Goswami, gave us, because this is the process. Generally people are always looking, what's the secret? What's the something special? We already have all the secret special stuff. This is it. This is the process. Follow and you get the result. We shall become transformed. Spiritual life begins with what? Getting up for Mangalarti. That's the beginning. Every day is a new beginning. How can I become spiritually advanced? One devotee asked Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, you follow all the rules and regulations carefully. Those processes, why he's asking? The process is already given. You just have to follow it, that's all. We're always asking, how can I do it? How can I do that? It's already there. You've got all. There's no other process. It's not that something's hidden, and that there's some special secret which. Now I was coming to ISKCON Pune all these days, and this one question was troubling me, and then Bhakti Vikas Swami came and he told me, it's something they never told me ever before. He told me the secret. Now I know. But no secret. It's all there. Just maybe we didn't hear. We didn't catch it. We didn't believe it. That's all. We have to tell you again and again. Chant Hare Krishna. Rise early in the morning. Hear carefully. Attend the class. We have to say again and again. And one day we may understand. Oh, really? That's it. Okay. We're always saying, when are they going to teach us all the secret stuff? When are they going to really tell us? This is it. No, this is it. We're not hiding. We're not cheating you. You may be cheating yourself, but we're not cheating you. We pray to Krishna that we're not cheating him. If I'm cheating myself, then I'll cheat you also. Give this mind.
Maharaj, what are the realizations of a sincere brahmachari who is practicing very sincerely? Like from quite some time and...
What are the realizations? He realizes that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I am His eternal servant. The holy name is non-different from Krishna. These are some of the realizations. Expecting something new? I was listening to a lecture, recorded lecture by one of my godbrothers who's been a sannyasi for many years, and he took sannyas long before I did. And he was saying, I just came to the realization I have to give up false ego. I have to give up the idea of enjoying myself. So he already had that realization for so many years, but then it may strike us even more strongly at some point. When we can understand that the holy name is non-different from Krishna, then we're pure devotees. So there's no difference between what pure devotees and neophyte devotees do. In many ways there may be no difference in their sadhana, but the level of appreciation that may be different. So that's why just go on, and gradually our absorption will become more. Our realization will become more. We can say this and we can say that, but again, it's something that has to be realized. Bhakti pareshanubhava. It's a matter of experience. To be experienced.
Maharaj, generally we say that when we chant holy name like japa and we do Hari Kirtan, so there is a Ananda Kanda in like Hari Kirtan, devotees dance jubilantly. But while chanting, the struggle is there. So why does which is like Ananda Kanda? What exactly meaning of like Ananda Kanda? And a lot of people get benefited.
Meaning we need that you don't get taste, or you find difficult to get taste in japa means that everyone should be in the same position. Is it? There's not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Ananda. He just gave it as some nasty duty that we have to do. We have to sit down and chant the holy names. That's our Durdaivam idrisham ihajani nanuraga. This is our misfortune. Knowledge is revealed by serving the spiritual master. Then what is the role of cultivating spiritual knowledge? How to balance these two? Well, this is on the point again of realization. Dibbogyan hriday prakashito. Guru mukha paddavakya. We have to hear, but then that knowledge is revealed within the heart. So, hearing from devotees is a purely spiritual process. It's not a mundane academic process. It's a spiritual academic process. And entrance into that knowledge, realization, is a gift. So we have to do our work, and as much as we're serious to do that, then that will attract the mercy of the devotees to reveal the imports. But again, when we say realization, it's not something static. There's realization, and the same point. You realize again and again, more and more and more. We can sing this on this point, which seems to be the main thrust of all the questions, is attaining realization, attaining taste. It's very valuable for us to sing this kirtan of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Kobe hobe bolo shede nama. How we will attain Harinama Ruchi. Pray for the mercy of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. One more piece of paper is coming. That's nice. How have you developed such tremendous faith in the words of Srila Prabhupada? How do you know that I have tremendous faith in the words of Srila Prabhupada? Can you please explain? Well, if you don't have faith in Prabhupada, what do you have faith in? You have faith in politicians, meat eaters, Mayavadis. Who are you going to have faith in? Prabhupada inspires faith because he is linked with Krishna. He is self-effulgent Acharya. So he inspires that faith. As Prabhupada often said, that you have to believe something. So what are you going to believe? You're going to believe in Prabhupada, or you're going to believe in, like I say, people who have no knowledge that I put at the beginning of my Brahmacari book. That why should we follow people who have no knowledge that there is even a goal of life, let alone how to attain it? So we have to believe something. If someone says, I don't believe in anything, then you ask them, do you believe what you just said? You have to believe something. So why not believe in a perfect person? This is the last question for now. Hare Krishna Maharaj. You've opened up with Hare Krishna. And that's good to start with Hare Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, no, don't put Hare Krishna at the top of a letter. Don't put the holy names. That's like becoming the Harinam Upadeshta that you're instructing. That's why I don't like so much when the people, they say, Hari Bol, and then you're actually instructing. So that's alright maybe to a junior, but according to Maryada, you shouldn't say Hari Bol to someone who should be telling you to say Hari Bol. So traditionally at the top of any letter or any writing, you'll put something like Shri Shri Guru Gaurango Jayataha or Shri Hari. Last year I was in Sri Rangam and I went to the house of Sundar Bhatta. Maybe you know, he's one of the leading people there who's very favorable to us. He wasn't there. His daughter was there. She's around, I guess, about 15 years old. So I can't remember what exactly it was, but she gave me some note, some piece of paper about this size. Some note, someone's address or some phone number or something. I can't remember. And at the top she wrote Shri, just on a little note. That habit is there. So within the Dari, it's called, in Bengali, in Hindi also, Dari, within the lines. So that's like an invocation. So that we can. Shri means, according to Sri Sampradaya, means Lakshmi. Shri also means Bhagavan, Hari. So Shri, Shri Hari, Shri Guru, Shri Guru Gauranga Jayataha. Or among the karmis they'll put Om Ganeshaya Namaha, something, offering invocation to the Lord. But just the name by itself, according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, anyway, that's, you can say, a relatively minor point of etiquette, but it's important nevertheless. Is it required for a brahmachari to go very deeply into different bona fide scriptures, or just Prabhupada's books are enough? Well, it's very clear from Prabhupada himself that he said that these 4 books are sufficient for preaching. You may read other books also. He also said to read other books. But these 4 books, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion. These books Prabhupada emphasized. How to know that, it's one of those how to know questions. You always want explicit answers to general, you give a general question and expect a specific answer. How much should one be renounced in the householder life? It's different in every case. So this is how to know that how much is too much, how less is too less. That's why you can't learn everything from a book. Do it yourself, bhakti. Teach yourself bhakti in 30 days. Your individual situation has to be assessed, and you have to be